Tava kara kamala pare nakam abduta sringam Dalita hiranyakasipu Thanu bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jajagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Tava kara kamala pare nakam abduta sringam Dalita hiranyakasipu Thanu bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jajagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jajagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jaya Narsimha Dev, Narsimha Dev, Narsimha Dev, Jaya Narsimha Dev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Narahari, 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 Jaya Narahari. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Judhapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahakana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Stipyadeshatarine. Hare Krishna. Could anyone hear? Hare Krishna. I am very grateful, very honored, and most happy to be with all of you here in New Dwarka for this holy day, Narsimha Caturdasi. I am a very fallen and lowly soul, very unqualified in every way, but by the great kindness of all of the assembled devotees, I am given the opportunity to somehow offer a service for the pleasure of my beloved Guru Maharaj, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It was here in New Dwarka, on this Vyasasan, that Srila Prabhupada declared all of the devotees assembled to be the representatives of his Guru Maharaj. And how grateful he was that through serving the devotees, he was serving the mission of his spiritual master. Our founder Acharya, expressing such true and genuine Vaishnava humility, is the sacred standard that we all pray for, strive for. Prahlad Maharaj after Lord Narsimha Dev appeared in this world just to protect him, to give him pleasure, was ordered by the Lord to be the king of the Asuras. Now he was sitting on the throne of his father, Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad did not want anything. But Lord Narsimha Dev gave him everything. And he accepted it as a service. Years later, he went on a tour. And there is a place in South India, very holy place. It is named Malkote. Has anybody been to Malkote? Please raise hands. There's a lake just at the foot of a mountain. And there's a magnificent temple on the top of that mountain. And I'd like to tell you the story I heard from the high priest who was serving the Lord there. When Prahlad was in this lake. He was offering his oblations to the Lord. And suddenly he felt overwhelmed with guilt and despair. In his heart, he was flooding with the thoughts, because of me, my father was killed. Just so that I could be protected and eventually be king, my father died. And he was accepting blame for that. He was called to the top of the mountain. When he went up there, a deity of Lord Narsimha had manifested. This is how that deity manifested. His name is Yoga Narsimha. And he's sitting in Padmasana, like yogi. And Yoga Narsimha spoke to Prahlad. He said, do not feel bad, you should feel happy. Your father, he was such a tyrant who caused such pain to so many. It's uncalculable how much sinful karma he had created. He was destined to suffer all that karma. But because of you, I gave him liberation. It wasn't because of you your father died, it was because of you your father was liberated. So please be happy. So Lord Narsimha appeared to Prahlad Maharaj to protect him. And then again he appeared in a beautiful form of Lord Yoga Narsimha to pacify his heart. This is the inconceivable quality of a great devotee's character. In this world, the tendency of the false ego is we want to find something or someone to blame for whatever problems we're having. Don't feel guilty about that. It's just ingrained human tendency under the influence of ahankar or the ego. The great souls, in their taking shelter of the Lord, Prahlad, he's taking blame for something he never did. But it wasn't just a material concept of guilt like people feel in this world. The more we know God, the more we understand Krishna and feel Krishna's presence, the more we're humbled by that. And this was Prahlad Maharaj. I'd like to very briefly, at least I hope it comes out briefly, describe the story of Prabhupada as it is given in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In most of the stories in the 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, we read about not only the Supreme Lord in his various incarnations, but the glories of the devotees of the Lord. The character of bhakti quality of devotion of those devotees and the Lord's reciprocation. It begins where the 4 Kumaras, they were born of Lord Brahma at the very beginning of creation. They were actually the elder brothers of Lord Shiva. So they're very senior. But by their own powers, by their own sweet will, they decided to remain throughout their lives. They had really long lives. To remain in the bodies of 5-year-old children. They had profound knowledge, realization, so much Shakti. But they wanted to remain always as little children. They didn't want to lose their innocence, and they never did. They live an entire day of Brahma. And because they're children, their bodies are like that. They never have to deal with sex desire. By their own free will. What everybody's trying to get in this world, they want it to be totally aloof. So in their liberated state, they went to Vaikuntha to visit Lord Narayan. And just in the gateway outside of the kingdom of Lord Vishnu were Jai and Vijay, gatekeepers. And they consider these 4 children, they've considered 4 children. It's not that anybody could just come in and see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they told him, you cannot come in. You have to be qualified. And 4 Kumaras, understanding the will of the Lord, they said, because you are obstructing our service to the Lord, we curse you to fall into the material world and take birth as demons, asuras. And immediately, they started falling down into the material world. And the 4 Kumaras said, after 3 births, the Lord will come each birth and he will deliver you, and then you will come back to Vaikuntha. This story is told by Narada Muni to Maharaj Yudhisthira in a very, very important discussion. Yudhisthira Maharaj had just seen Shishupal, who was very envious of Krishna. Shishupal, from the time he was born, he hated Krishna. And throughout his life, he criticized Krishna. Practically constantly. And any good thing that Krishna did, and Krishna was doing the most incredible, glorious things at every moment, it was increasing his envy. And Yudhisthira Maharaj witnessed during a ceremony where Shishupal was criticizing Krishna with all of his heart. He was upsetting everyone so much. With Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra, he severed the head of Shishupal. Immediately, the light of the soul of Shishupal soared through the air into the body of Krishna. He was liberated. Yudhisthira Maharaj was asking, how is it he was liberated like this? And they were discussing the idea of how the Lord is equal to everyone and how he reciprocates according to how a person approaches him. But Bhagavan Sri Krishna, in all of his manifestations, is all merciful. Ultimately, he does what is best for everyone. We are the eternal soul. And Krishna reciprocates. No one is his enemy or friend. Everyone is his child, and he is the well-wisher of everyone. But if we approach Krishna as enemy, Krishna will purify us of that in due course of time. Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyam. As we surrender to Krishna, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. And then Narada Muni explained about Jai and Vijay coming to this world. And their first births were, the last birth was Shishupal, but the first, Kashyapa Muni and Diti, gave birth to two brothers, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha was exploiting Mother Earth so severely and causing so much pain, destruction, that the Lord appeared as Varahadev and liberated him. His elder brother, Hiranyakashipu, his psychology was he was actually seeing Vishnu as evil for killing his brother. It wasn't just like a political way of explaining, what do they call fake news? He's seeing through the lens. He was so envious of the Lord. He was seeing the Lord as the bad person and his brother as a great hero. And he vowed to kill Vishnu and destroy all those who had faith. Hiranyakashipu was such a yogi. He went to the Mandara mountain. And there he stood on the tips of his toes and raised his arms into the air. It would not move. He was controlling his mind, he was controlling his senses, he was controlling his life airs in such a way for 100 celestial years. He developed such power, that unbearable heat was emanating from the top of his head. And according to Srimad Bhagavatam, it was literally burning all the planets up to the heavenly worlds of the universe. These very tragic fires in California, we see how much destruction they caused. But no other planets were affected. Outside of California, there was no heat. But this one man by his yogic siddhis, it was practically impossible for anyone to live due to the heat he was creating. So the devatas, they went to Brahma and explained why he's doing this. Brahma is empowered to be the Lord of this particular universe under Lord Vishnu. Hiranyakashipu was doing this tapasya to Brahma, knowing that Brahma had to respond, and his aim was to take the post of Brahma and have so much control, so much power that no one could resist him. He was already such a powerful personality, but this desire for control and power can never satisfy the soul. No matter how much he wanted, he needed more. He wanted to become the Lord of the universe. So Brahma told the demigods, let us go. And along with the great rishis, they came to the place, Hiranyakashipu, he had been standing in this asana for so long that ants built an ant hive covering his entire body. And the ants, they ate every particle of his flesh, his fat, and drank all his blood. And he didn't move. Now I know sometimes we consider ourselves great sannyasis and everything. But when an insect is biting us, we brush it off. But he did not move from his tapasya even while his body was being eaten away. And by the potency of his austerity, he was able to keep his soul alive, energizing his skeleton. There was nothing but bones, covered by an anthill, but still the fire's coming up. Lord Brahma, at the beginning, he couldn't even find him. And when he did locate him, he took sacred water from his kamandalu, his water pot, and he sprinkled it on Hiranyakashipu. And as soon as he was touched by the water of Brahma, his body was restored like never before. He was effulgent. He had golden complexion. He was extraordinarily beautiful. And every limb of his body was more powerful than a thunderbolt could even harm. You have seen thunderbolts? We have just, I think a year or two ago, we saw that there was this house in Texas, and suddenly, within a second, the house was on fire and disappeared. That's a thunderbolt. Nobody could live when it hits you. But thunderbolts were soft and harmless compared to Hiranyakashipu's limbs. And when he saw he had a body like this, he was very happy. And he saw Brahma on his swan carrier, Hiranyakashipu offered his dandavats. And it's incredible how Hiranyakashipu was actually he was demoniac in his purpose of life. He had a terrible character, but he was actually a great scholar. There's places in Srimad Bhagavatam where he's preaching, and if you didn't know it was Hiranyakashipu and you just hear what he's talking, you would think, I want to follow him. He's speaking about the nature of the soul. He's speaking about the nature of the material world. He's speaking about the nature of time and death. And it's precise. But it's all for the wrong purpose. It's not to serve God, it's to exploit God's property, God's children. So he offered wonderful prayers to Lord Brahma as far as praising him. Why? So that he could get something in return. Srimad Bhagavatam describes Savayapung sang paro dharamo yato bhaktir rokshaje ahoitakiya pratihataya yatma suprasidati. That the Supreme Dharma is loving, transcendental, devotional service to the Lord, without expectation of anything in return. Samsiddhyat haritoshanam. We're serving only to please the Lord, unmotivated, uninterrupted. But he performed a tapasya that was like no other, so that he could get something. Lord Brahma, he said to Hiranyakashipu, no one has ever in the past done tapasya like you, and no one in the future will ever do it. Now I have to give you whatever you want. What do you want? Hiranyakashipu wanted to be free of death, and he wanted to be the conqueror and controller of all three worlds. Brahma said, even I have to die. According to the Vedic scriptures, Brahma lives 311 trillion years by our standards. We may think that's a lot, but a little ant thinks that our 100 years is a lot. If the ants were talking to each other that there's this species called humans and they live 100 years, it's inconceivable. So everything is relative. Hiranyakashipu was so intelligent. He said, then give me these benedictions. I will not be killed by any living being created by you. And everyone in the creation of this universe is created by Brahma. Brahma granted him that benediction. You will never be killed by anyone created by me. I will never be killed in the day or the night, on the land, on water, or in the air, inside of any structure or outside of any structure, by any type of weapon. Grant me that I will have all this, the 8 mystic cities, more powerful than anyone, even the demigods, where I could perform any type of supernatural miracles. grant that I will be the controller and no one can, even the demigods will be my obedient servants. And he went on and on. There are verse after verse of benedictions he was asking for. Kind of like a demoniac shopping list. And Lord Brahma gave him all those benedictions. And Hiranyakashipu understood, now I am unconquerable and immortal. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells of cheaters, I am the greatest cheat. He's the greatest of everything. You cannot trick Krishna. So when Brahma and the sages and devatas returned to their abodes, Hiranyakashipu really created havoc. He conquered everything. Indra's abode in Swargaloka, he took over, sat on Indra's throne, enjoyed his palace. And Narada Muni's telling the story that all the demigods, Hiranyakashipu had the power where he actually took all of their controlling forces. He didn't need the demigods. He could do what Agni did. He could do what Vayu. He could do what... They were all his obedient servants. And Narada Muni said, even I had to bow down for him. That was his powers. And he was trying to reverse the laws of nature. Where if the law of nature, if you do something impious, you suffer. And if you do something pious, the karmic reaction is you'll enjoy. He was actually in the process of reversing the laws of nature. So if you did something sinful, you would get pleasure. You would get good karma. And if you did something pious, you would have to suffer. It is described by Narada Muni, Hiranyakashipu. There was nobody that could say anything to him. He was controlling. But he was always in anxiety. He could not find any real happiness because he could not control his mind and senses. And that made him even more terrible. He had several sons, and the best among those sons was Prahlad. When Prahlad was just 5 years old, he was going to school. Shukracharya was the guru of the demigods, of the asuras. And his two sons, Sanda and Amarka, were teaching the children of Hiranyakashipu's dynasty, training them to be following in the footsteps of Hiranyakashipu, who was considered by them to be the great soul, the Lord. One day, they brought little Prahlad before his father because he was so humble and so respectful. They were so proud of him. The two teachers wanted him to give them a special blessing by pleasing Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu saw little Prahlad bow down before him, and he lifted Prahlad onto his lap, and he smelled his head like a father does to a son, and tears welled in his eyes, and he embraced him. He said, "My dear Prahlad," he was just talking, "please tell me, you are going to the school of Sandana Marka. What is the best subject you are learning from them?" And little Prahlad, with all respect and compassion, he answered the question. Tatsaru manye suravarya dehinam sadasamadvignadiyam asadgrahat hitvatma patam grihamanda kupam vanam gotoya dadim ashrayeta. My dear father. He didn't say, "My dear father." Srila Prabhupada emphasizes this. He wanted to glorify his father in a way his father would appreciate it. He said, "Oh, best of the demons." For one who is entrapped in the illusion of this bodily conception of life, trying to enjoy material energy, he's in such an embarrassing, pathetic condition, like a person who's in a deep, dark well where there is no water, there is only suffering. Therefore, my father, please come out of this situation. Go to the forest and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. It's really good you gave me this. When Hiranyakashipu heard this from his little 5-year-old child, he laughed. He said, He turned to his teacher, Sandana Marka, and said, "How has this 5-year-old child been affected by my enemies? Take him to school and protect him and teach him properly." So they brought him to the school. And Prahlad was so respectful. They said, "Prahlad, where did you learn this? Why are you speaking such nonsense?" And Prahlad, he described that everything you're teaching is that this is my friend, because they help me to enjoy my purpose in life, and these are my enemies. But I'm a devotee of the Supreme Lord, and I see that my beloved Lord is in the heart of every living being. And one who actually has true knowledge sees everyone with equal vision. They became so angry with him. They began to threaten him. But he was fearless because he was in the shelter of Lord Krishna. And they brought him to the courses. And after some time, it appeared that they had completely indoctrinated him with Hiranyakashipu's teachings. And they were really proud of him. And they brought him home, and his mother was so proud of him. He was doing so well in his studies. She dressed him up really nice. And they all brought him before Hiranyakashipu, who was sitting on the throne. And he did his Dandavat pranams. Hiranyakashipu lifted him up, put him on his lap again, embraced him. Fatherly affection caused tears to flow from his eyes. And he said, Prahlad, please tell me, what is it you're learning in school? Prahlad replied, Sravanam kirtanam smarana bandhana pada sevana dasyare pujana sakijana atmanivedana. Sravanam kirtanam Vishnu smaranam pada sevanam archanam bandhanam dasyam sakyam atmanivedanam. There are 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing the glories of the Lord and chanting the holy names and glories of the Lord, remembering the Lord, offering prayers to the Lord, worshiping the deities of the Lord, becoming a friend of the Lord and surrendering everything. One who follows this path of bhakti, such a person can achieve the ultimate goal of love for Krishna. When his father heard this, he was outraged. He started screaming at the teachers, why are you teaching him this? He was ready to kill the teachers. And the teachers, no, we didn't teach him any of this. We don't know where he's getting this information. It's not from us. Hiranyakashipu, indignant with rage, Prahlad, tell me, where did you learn this? Little Prahlad responded, Matirna Krishne Bharatashvadova Mito Vivetyeti Griha Vratanam Adanta Gopir Vishatam Tamishram Puna Punashcharavaticharvananam. My dear father, one who is addicted to material enjoyment and material life, forgetful of Krishna, simply spends his life chewing that which has already been chewed. And neither by himself or with the help of others or with any combination of both can anyone achieve the goal of life, love of Krishna, as long as you are addicted to this material conceptions. Nathe viduswarad gatim hi Vishnu. That the goal of life is to surrender with love to Lord Vishnu. And then Prahlad Maharaj, he spoke a verse which was unbearable to Hiranyakashipu. Naisham matisthavarurukramangrim sprishat yanartha pagamo yadartha. My dear father, unless one does abhishek, bathes his entire body with the dust of the feet of the devotees of the Lord, one cannot attain the Supreme Lord, the goal of life. Unless you render service by taking the dust of the feet of those who have no material desires, you have no hope, my father. Hiranyakashipu lifted Prahlad with his hands and threw him to the ground. He said, you are my son, but you are my enemy. You must be killed. Hiranyakashipu described how if one has an infected limb, even though it's part of your own body, if you don't amputate it, it will be cause of the death of the whole body. So although you are coming from me, because you are surrendered to my enemy, if I don't kill you, it will be the cause of my death. And he ordered his soldiers, by all means, kill him. And they used so many creative methods to try to do that. They were stabbing him with tridents. They threw him in a pit of venomous snakes. They held him in the middle of a raging fire. They threw him off high cliffs. They tried to crush him with massive stones. They held him on the bottom of the ocean. They fed him deadly poison. They put him under the feet of stampeding elephants. And Prahlad never once prayed to Krishna, please save me. He just prayed, my Lord, I am yours. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, in one of his beautiful songs, he prays, Maro birako bijo icha tohar, nityadaha sapratitua adhikar. My dear Krishna, if you like, you can protect me, or if you like, you can kill me. You have every right to do anything you please because I am your servant, unconditionally. This was the mood of Prahlad. He was with Krishna. He was completely satisfied, content, and at peace, just remembering Krishna. Sometimes we speak about shanti or peace. But in this world, it's not always going to be peaceful. But real peace, Mahajano Yenagadasa Panta, to understand Prahlad in whatever situation, he was always peaceful because he was always completely absorbed in remembering the Lord, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. It was really frustrating to Hiranyakashipu because they were inventing any possible way. But Krishna was always protecting Prahlad. We read in Srimad Bhagavatam, at this point Hiranyakashipu became depressed. He couldn't do anything anymore. He just sat down with his head facing the floor. And he was thinking, because I cannot kill this child, it will be the cause of my death. And Sandanamarka came to Hiranyakashipu and said, why, he's just a child. He's just going through a phase of life. He will change. Just let him come back to school. And everything will be all right. After all, when you raise your eyebrows, the demigods tremble in fear. Nothing can conquer you. No one can conquer you. You have nothing to fear. You are the controller. You are the greatest. Prahlad will grow out of this. So Prahlad went back to school. And during recess one day, all the children, they gathered around Prahlad to learn from him. The teachers were away. Kaumara acharit pragyo dharman bhagavataniha. Prahlad described, now that you are young children, this is the time to cultivate bhakti. The human life is so rare. And the most precious and valuable of all gifts of the human life is every moment we have to come closer to God. And then he gave such beautiful teachings. But I only have 6 minutes. It's Lord Nrsingadev's Abhishek, and I don't want to be late. He described the essence of Sanatana Dharma, the path of bhakti, to his students, and said, I have learned this from my guru Narada Muni. They said, how do you know Narada Muni? You're living with your father. You're going to school with us. And he described when his father was doing tapasya, his mother was pregnant. And in the absence of Hiranyakashipu, Indra and the Devatas, they took his mother because they wanted to kill the child as soon as he was born. And Narada Muni came to Indra and the Devatas and said, this child is a Mahabhagavat. He's a great devotee of the Lord. Let me take care of the mother and the child. And they immediately accepted Narada Muni's realization. And they bowed and offered obeisances and circumambulated the child in the womb. And Narada Muni instructed both the mother and the child. And little Prahlad never forgot anything. He affected the children so much that they all became great devotees. After the recess, when Sanda and Amarka returned, and they saw the children like disciples of Prahlad, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, they became very fearful for their lives. And they reported everything to Hiranyakashipu and brought Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu's eyes were burning like red coals. He began shouting with a thunderous voice, how dare you think that you are more powerful than me? Where do you get the power to be in such illusion? To defy my control? And little Prahlad, with a heart full of compassion and love for his father, he said, my father, I get my power from the same place you get your strength, which is the same place that everyone gets their strength. Every living being, whatever intelligence we have, whatever physical abilities we have, whatever power of speech we have, all strength is coming from one source, from my beloved Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Hiranyakashipu was outraged. He said, on this very day, I am going to send you to the abode of Yamaraj. Today I myself will kill you. He said, you talk about this Vishnu. Let us see if he protects you today. Where is he? Prahlad said, he's everywhere. Hiranyakashipu pointed to a pillar beside his throne. Is he in this pillar? Prahlad said, he's everywhere, my father. Hiranyakashipu drew his mighty sword. In complete rage, with his fist, he pounded against the pillar, then lunged toward Prahlad to sever his head. At that moment, from the pillar was a ghastly sound. No one had ever heard it before. It filled the world. It was thunderous. It was creating like earthquakes. And Hiranyakashipu had never heard any sound like this. Where is it coming from? He was looking all around. It was coming from the pillar. And suddenly the pillar cracked open and Lord Narsimha Dev appeared. Hiranyakashipu could not believe what he was seeing. This enormous form. It was neither a man or an animal. Half man, half lion. He was roaring. The roar was shaking all directions. There's beautiful description of Lord Narsimha Dev's transcendental form. Hiranyakashipu, due to his false ego, he was thinking, I have never been conquered by anyone, anywhere. No one can harm me. He drew his sword and ran right into Lord Narsimha Dev to fight him. It was a great fight. Lord Narsimha Dev, Srila Prabhupada describes sometimes when a cat is with a mouse, sometimes lets the mouse get away and lets the mouse think that he's winning, but then Narsimha Dev grabbed Hiranyakashipu, and Hiranyakashipu, with all of his might, he was fighting, and the Lord let him go. And Hiranyakashipu was reassured, yes, I am more powerful, I will win. And with all of his mystic powers, he was attacking from the air, from the sky, from all directions. And Narsimha Dev was just playing with him until the sun was just setting. It wasn't either day or night. He lifted Hiranyakashipu. He went right to the threshold of the doorway, which was not inside or outside. He put him on his lap, which was not the earth, water, or the air. And without any weapons, with his nails. That was the first gastrointestinal surgery that this world has ever seen. He ripped him open. And everyone was watching. And then he, just to make so that everybody would be free from fear, he took out his heart. And then he garlanded himself with intestines. It's a very scary story. And then he just threw the corpse of Hiranyakashipu on the ground like a piece of garbage. And he was still roaring because he was so angry at the offenses that the king had committed to his devotee Prahlad. It is described the demigods during the fight, they were hiding behind clouds because they were afraid if they looked like they were on Narsimha Dev's side, if Hiranyakashipu wins, then he's going to really get them. So they were hiding. But Prahlad, he was Brahma and all the demigods and all the sages, they offered prayers from a little distance But none of them can approach Lord Nrsingadev, because his anger, no one had ever seen anger like this. Sarva karana karanam. Krishna is the cause of all causes. Here was, Krishna is the source of all beauty. Anything beautiful we see in this world that mesmerizes our minds and our hearts is only a spark, a tiny little spark of Krishna's beauty. Anything that's charming in this world that can completely inundate our minds, it's only a tiny, insignificant spark of Krishna's beauty. And similarly, we have seen anger and rage in this world. At the most, it's just an insignificant little spark of the anger that can come from Krishna. And here, the full manifestation of God's anger was in the form of Narsingadev. Brahma asked Lakshmi, we cannot approach the Lord. Please pacify his anger. Lakshmi replied, I have never seen my Lord in this mood. I cannot go. So Brahma asked Prahlad, please pacify your Lord. He's come here only for you. And Prahlad immediately, fearlessly, lovingly, he didn't see anger, he saw love. He bowed down and stood before Nrsingadev with folded hands, and the Lord placed his paw on Prahlad's head. And immediately Prahlad started, his hairs were standing on end, tears were flowing from his eyes, his limbs were trembling in ecstatic love. He was chanting the Lord's holy names. And then Prahlad offered beautiful prayers. And Nrsingadev became completely peaceful. He was conquered by the love of this 5-year-old child. Lord Nrsingadev offered Prahlad any benediction in all of creation and beyond. Any spiritual, material benediction, he would give everything. Prahlad Maharaj responded, if someone asks for something in return for their devotional service, they're not really devotees. They're doing business with you. I want nothing. I only want to always remember you and never be deluded away from you by material energy. My only desire is to serve you with love and to be the servant of the servants of those who serve you with love. And then Prahlad said, but Nrsingadev insisted, ask for something. I am going to give it anyway, ask. Prahlad said, if I must ask for something, please give my father liberation. Nrsingadev said, 21 generations of all of your relatives and forefathers will all be liberated because of your devotion. And wherever there is one who surrenders to Krishna with a whole heart, 21 generations of their relatives will be liberated. And Srila Prabhupada describes 21 generations. That means every birth we've taken in our previous 21 births, all of those relatives will also be liberated. Prahlad Maharaj prayed. Some people go to the Himalayas to find peace and to find you. But let me be in the towns, in the villages, in the cities, where people under illusion are separated from you, trying to find happiness in this material world. Let me be with them to give your message. Narsimha Dev ordered Prahlad to be the king and to rule with pure unalloyed devotion, never forgetting loving service to the Lord. And then you will go back home, back to Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Jagannath Puri, Vasudev Datta, he prayed, "My dear Lord, I have just one desire. Let me take all the karma of every living being in the universe so that they could all go back to Godhead, and let me suffer perpetually so that they could be happy with you." And he actually meant it. And what was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's first words to Vasudev Datta? His voice was choked up with emotion. Tears filled his eyes. And the Lord said to Vasudev Datta, "You are Prahlad Maharaj." And also Haridas Thakur, when he was willing to be beaten in 22 marketplaces and he was praying for the forgiveness of his executioners, just give them love of God, don't let them suffer because of me. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also declared here, Haridas Thakur, "You are Prahlad Maharaj." And actually when Krishna was living in Nandagram, because so many demons were coming to harm Krishna, Garga Muni installed a deity of Narsimha Dev there. He's still in Nandagram. Bhaktivinoda Thakur especially taught us that we worship Lord Narsimha Dev to destroy the obstacles toward devotional service. Lust, anger, envy, greed, arrogance, illusion. The impediments that are keeping us from the loving devotional service to the Lord. He removes those obstacles. And our beloved Srila Prabhupada, in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, traveled around the world 12 times, left the holy abode of Vrindavan to give us the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, an entrance into the eternal pastimes of Sri Vrindavan Dham. And Srila Prabhupada instructed us 6 times a day there's artis, and after each arti to chant these prayers of Lord Narsimha Dev to protect the devotees. The devotees desire to always protect the deities and to remove all obstacles from the loving service of the Lord. When we chant the holy names, the Maha Mantra is the prime benediction that can awaken prema bhakti from our hearts. And Lord Narsimha Dev is such an important part of our spiritual path to help to remove the offenses to the holy names of the Lord. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.